I feel like if anything, we should learn to be a little bit more involved with our life and less attached. Because I feel like a lot of our life is spent in reference to things that aren't us and things that are not inherent to who we are. And that's what I mean with our attachment. Because I feel like our attachment sort of breeds a lot of expectation. Because if we're attached to something, we expect to see ourselves in it and we expect to see good things in whatever it is that we're seeing. Because we want to feel good about ourselves. And I think for me, the biggest thing that I've been doing, the biggest thing that feel like has helped me with that is realizing that any good feeling I feel about myself has to be felt by me. Just like any negative feeling that I feel about anything is going to be felt by me, I have to be the one to sort of insinuate and be the sort of catalyst to my own change and catalyst to my own feeling. Because the more we become dependent on the external world in terms of our own validation and our own feeling good about ourselves, I feel like that's when the world becomes to control you. And I'm not saying world control in terms of like society and a real large scale things, but on a small scale. In terms of those things that we feel like are inherent to us and how much we feel like we have to depend on the external world in order to show us our value. And I like to think that, every person has value regardless of whatever situation, whatever the world is showing them. Because our value isn't necessarily characterized by other people's perspective of us, but your own perspective. And that's why I feel like the honesty aspect continues to come about, because you have to be honest with yourself in regards to your aspirations, in regards to who you are as a person. Our interaction is a very social thing, and I feel like we're very social creatures at most times, and it's important to realize the implications of your actions and the consequences of them. With that being said, your involvement should be the part of that I feel like is expressed, because doing your best is really just about making your life more intimate, making everything more not personal, more intimate. I'm just leaving it at intimate. It's about the affection that you share with your life, the affection that you share with everyone around you, including yourself. Because what I'm realizing is you sort of have to fill yourself up before you pull yourself back out into the world. And that's not to say that you can't, pour yourself out as you are. Because what I'm realizing is it's the whole thought that we're not enough that really makes it so we have to be filled up. It's the whole premise that the cup has a bottom that makes us feel like we have to keep getting recharged and keep doing this, that, and the other. And I know a lot of that is easier said than done, but in regards to myself, I feel like the mentality about that you pretty much are as you think you are, it's really helpful, and it's allowed me to do a lot in my own life. And that's why I feel like it's sort of important to realize the implications of your own thoughts and the implications of your own actions in regards to how you feel about yourself. Being more involved with life is really just about being, I feel like, present. Understanding that if you're going to be here, you might as well be here. And if you are going to do anything in regards to your change, you might as well be there to do it. I feel like a lot of times we have anxiety about how we are going to act in a certain situation, how this is going to go, how that's going to go. And a lot of times it's just offset by our lack of presence. It's about our inability to be calm and confident within ourselves that allows us to sort of be shaky and allows things to occur that we don't necessarily feel are inherent to our character. And I find that it's important whenever situations like that do occur, whenever, you do take a L, whenever you do take a loss, realize that doesn't make you the loss. It makes you a person. We only are as we are, and things only can be as they are. There is no should or could have. There's only things that have happened and that were done. And it's important to live in the present moment in regards to your change. Otherwise, you're constantly going to be referencing something you don't want to rebuild. And if we're constantly looking towards the future, I feel like there's always so much out there. I feel like it's always more important to watch things unfold rather than to expect them to unfold. Especially when it comes to our desires, manifestations, whatever you want to call it. Because there's always so much ahead. There's always so much unknown, and I feel like getting comfortable with that unknown is what allows people to sort of find any sort of personal freedom, because it's about not being based on how things are that allow you to shine through regardless. Because regardless of how the world is, you have to persist, and you're going to persist regardless. Whether or not you're comfortable in that persistence is just a matter of your own perspective on life itself. And at times, of course, it's difficult. I can't say that every time I'm faced with a negative situation, I'm just super above it. I'm human. I'm a person, but as long as I have any control and any presence in the matter, I'm going to make the choice I feel like is most befitting of me. And that doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to make the right choice 100% of the time. That doesn't mean that it's going to be a overall positive 100% of the time. It just means I'm doing my best. I feel like doing your best isn't necessarily contingent on your success. It's just contingent on being you. Because whatever you are is enough, and it shouldn't have to be based on something else in the external sense for you to, feel valid in who you are. Being more involved and less attached is just about understanding that going with the flow isn't about not caring. It's never been about you're not caring about everything. It's just about your detachment. It's about not being attached. Because when we're not attached to certain things, we sort of allow things to be, and we're allowing ourselves to be separate from whatever it is we're encountering. And that's not to say, take a full backseat role and not care about anything you're encountering, but understand that sometimes things aren't inherent to you. How this person reacted isn't inherent to you. Sometimes it's inherent to them. Of course, you can influence certain things, and you have to be mindful of what you influence. And that's where the honesty conversation comes back in, because I feel like in being honest with yourself, you have to realize that, there's always going to be room for you to grow. I feel like no matter how far I feel like I get, how fulfilled I feel in my self-improvement journey, I don't ever feel like it's the end. And it's not necessarily saying I don't like where I'm at. It's about loving who you are while you're changing. Loving your foundation regardless of where it is. Because at the end of the day, that's your foundation. And whatever you build on top of it has to be filled with the love that you give it. Otherwise, it's going to be something you can't really, mesh with. And that's what I feel like is important, is realizing that it's never been the path that needs the affirmation. It's you. It's not about thinking, oh, well, I'm doing the right thing. It's about being the right person. Being the right person for whatever it is you want to do. Then, no matter what happens, you're going to be the right person for that task. You're going to be the right person to do this, that, and the other. And I feel like a lot of times we try to fit ourselves into sort of a box when it comes to our desires and aspirations. And we keep them in our head rather than putting them in reality, because I don't know if it's necessarily a fear aspect, but maybe it's a, expectation aspect. A lot of times I feel like we wait for life to happen, and in our effort for waiting, life passes us by. It's about the reality that you give to whatever it is that you want that makes it real. Because you have to embody that realness. You have to embody whatever it is that you want, in a sense. If you want to be an artist, you want to be a rapper, you want to be this, you want to be that, this, that, and the other, you have to sort of act the part. And I'm not saying be delusional in your act. I'm saying acknowledge that if you're going to capitalize off of any opportunity to get whatever it is that you want in your specific desire, you have to be in the right headspace and be the right person for that. Because it's not about being at the right time. It's about being the right person. Realizing that your actions are your actions. Your actions are things that are going to sort of allow you to get to your next step, because the first step always reveals the second. It's always about your continual progression and movement forward, and realizing that it's not about everything outside of here. It's about everything that you're facing. Everything that is present, everything that is you. If you can make a change now, make it. If you can't make a change now, you let it go. It's about not being attached to certain things and not holding things so near and dear. If it's not in your hands, it shouldn't be in your mind. I feel like a lot of time our thought and our suffering is sort of premature, because we allow certain things to be inherent to who we are without having any validity in the real world. Like, if I think I'm going to do bad on the test, or I have some sort of public speaking something and I think I'm going to do bad and I'm suffering and I'm anxious about it, I feel like it's about having confidence in your own preparation and having trust in yourself and whatever effort you put into what you do. Because it's about the calmness that you feel whenever you do it, that allows it to be done in a way you feel is befitting. And I feel like a lot of times our anxiety about it when it's happening is just, not realizing that if you want to have any say, if you want to have any choice in how anything goes, you have to be present enough to make the choice. I feel like a lot of times we're not present enough to make that choice, because we're so caught up in how this looks, how this is perceived, how this is, how this, what this will do. And what I'm realizing is it's more important to watch and find out than it is to try to answer the question for itself. I feel like we as people sometimes, I don't know if it's I don't necessarily think I would call it like a flaw of people, because we do it all the time, and I feel like it's somewhat inherent to us. But the way in which we sort of try to predict the future in regards to anything, and it's one thing to acknowledge that the future is kind of cyclic, and history repeats itself, and this is that and the other, because what isn't resolved definitely does repeat. But in regards to things that are new, in regards to things that are unknown, I feel like it's important to find out, important to watch with a positive intent. And when I say that, I mean, it's one thing to be intent with what you want, and it's one thing to keep it in mind and constantly keep repeating it in your head. But what I'm realizing is, as much as we want something in the world, we have to allow it to sort of exist in the world. You have to allow it to be real in your own perspective. Like, whenever I'm thinking about anything I somewhat want, or a desire of mine, or a goal of mine, instead of trying to constantly think of how that's going to look, like, I think to watch it. I think to watch it unfold. Like, if I say, I want to be more patient, or I want to be more mindful, or I don't know, anything like that. I want to exist in an abundance of gratitude. Instead of trying to think of this is that I'm grateful for, I'm going to stay present and look at the things I'm grateful for. Look at everything around me and truly appreciate that which is in front of me. And I feel like that's what helps us be more involved with life and less attached. Because once you realize that, sort of everything is new in a sense, you don't have any attachment to it. You realize that everything has to be beautiful just because it is. And you can acknowledge that beauty for what it is without necessarily needing to hold on to it. Because one thing's beauty doesn't ever depreciate anything else's unless you're mindfully doing so. I feel like it's the way that we allow our perspective to sort of shift the way we look at things that somewhat holds us back. You can look in the mirror one day and think you're the most beautiful thing in the world, but the next day you can think you're the ugliest. And what I'm realizing is the thing that remains unchanged is the actual physical thing. And the thing that does change is your mentality and your perspective of whatever it is you're looking at. And that's why I feel like if you have any say in your perspective, any say in what you do, any say in anything, choose to cater your perspective to you and your overall enjoyment in life. And that's not to say be delusional. Again, I feel like you have to walk with a certain air of care and understanding for everything else around you. And I feel like in an effort to understand how complex your life is, you have to realize that everyone else has their own complex life, and every other thing has its own complexity to it. And I find a lot of beauty in that myself, but I feel like that's what helps me sort of traverse the world in a way where I can just have faith in myself and keep moving forward. Because I think that overthought about certain situations doesn't do anything. If all you can do is think about it, it's probably never thought. And a lot of times our anxiety just needs an answer. I feel like anxiety has to be answered sometimes. Like, if I'm anxious about school, anxious about this, that, and the other, rather than think about it, why don't I just do something I feel like is going to contribute to whatever it is that I need? And if I can't do anything, then it's important to learn how to let go of that. And I realize that's easier said than done. I don't know how I would necessarily tell you to let go of something, but realize that whatever it is you are is separate from whatever it is you're anxious about. Because if it was a part of you, if it was truly you, then you wouldn't be anxious about it. Because you have to realize whatever it is that you are is in your possession, is in your control. Because you already have enough. And I feel like a lot of times we as people wait for certain things to happen or certain events to take place, certain people to say certain things in order to feel valid in ourselves, in order to feel like we are enough for whatever it is we're doing. And what I'm realizing is, regardless of what the person says, regardless of this is that and other, regardless of what accolade you get, you're already there to even have getting that, to even have received it. So what I'm realizing is it's never really about, how other people feel or how the world reacts to you. It's about how you react to you. It's about the realness and the love and the attention, care, affection that you give to whatever it is that's in front of you, whatever it is that is you. Because that's ultimately what's going to influence how your day goes, how you are, and how your life ends up going. Your life has to be based on who you are, not how things are. Your feeling has to be based off who you are, not how everything else is around you. Otherwise, you become dependent on everything around you in order to be you. And I don't necessarily think that's something that's befitting of us. Our involvement with life is just about not necessarily caring about what you're attached to. Decreasing your attachments, and that's a very difficult thing, I feel like, to say. But from my own experience, I feel like I've been trying to really stand on that. And while it is difficult, I find it to be very rewarding to realize that you don't have to take anything personal that isn't you, that you don't want to take personal. Because any judgment that you feel upon yourself, any judgment that you feel is cast by you, regardless of whether or not someone pointed and said this is that and the other. I feel like it's the reality that we give to these certain sayings, these certain things that make them real. Like, if I fail a test, I always bring up school because I'm in school. If I fail a test and I don't know, I look at it and I say, oh, I'm stupid, or I'll never do good on the test because this is that and the other. I feel like it's the reality that we give to whatever feeling that we have that makes it inherent to who we are. I feel like it's important to sort of offset the world's negativity, perceived negativity, with your own positivity. Realizing that whatever situation you're in, you're a part of it. And if you can bring good to the situation, good will be within it. All in all, thank you all for watching. I really do appreciate it. If you made it this far in the video, thank you so much. If not, thank you anyway. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you didn't, I did. So thank y'all. I'm starting a podcast channel. It's probably gonna start by the time this is going out, but hopefully it did. And I'm gonna start having other students, other people I know hop on the podcast in person and get altered perspectives. I'm gonna start linking my other channel where I'm gonna be posting a podcast pretty soon. So thank you all. Hope you guys enjoy your day.